Good evening again, the Baron back. Now, today I'd like to draw all of your attention to a very serious matter called urinal politics. This is especially important information for young men making their way in the world, some of which may be aware, some may not, and it might be interesting for some of the young ladies to find out. So let's begin. Now, when you go to a toilet, especially in a public place, a public house or restaurant, you must assess the urinal situation when entering. When you enter and there's one urinal, if it's free, of course, you use one urinal. When there's two urinals, you use either urinal, regardless your persuasion, left or right, not political. And if there's a gentleman at the other urinal, it's quite acceptable to use the urinal next to him. Now, where we start to get a little bit interesting is with three urinals. Now, if you go in and all the urinals are empty, you can't use the urinal in the middle because then you look like Johnny Big Bollocks. That's no good, because the next guy walks in and goes, "What a fucking prick, using the middle urinal, what a tosser." So you have to use either the left or the right. Of course, if the left's taken, you also have to use the right, because you can't go in and use a middle urinal when a man's pissing in the left or in the right. You can only use the middle urinal if there's a gentleman engaged in both the left and right urinals, in which case it's fine to use the middle, although it would be preferable if you would use the cubicle if that's available. Now we increase to 4 urinals, and we find we have a similar problem. Now, when you first go in with 4 urinals, you can use middle left or middle right because you're not really in the middle, so it doesn't matter. In fact, it's better because using far left or far right when there's no one pissing makes you look a bit weak. So you should use middle left or middle right. Now, if you put a gentleman on the far left, or if a gentleman's in middle left or middle right and you go in, you have to use the one furthest. So if you go for a piss and there's a gentleman middle left urinal, you have to go to far right urinal. You can't go in middle right because then you'd be right next to him. If there's two gentlemen in and one is using middle and the other one is using far, so you have 2 free urinals, one in the middle and one at the edge, I would use the one in the middle. Stand your ground a bit. You don't want to be boxed in by just one bloke in the corner, do you? So we want to use the middle one. Now, when we increase to 5 urinals, this gets a bit more tricky now. You certainly don't go into an empty toilet and use the middle urinal. You can use middle left or middle right, though. You don't want to use far left or far right when it's empty, because again, that makes you look quite weak. So it's best if you use middle left or middle right. Of course, if there's a gentleman middle left or middle right, you can't use middle. You have to use far right or far left, depending how far away he is. Now, if someone's in middle right and another one's already in far left, I advise that you use the middle left. Or you could use far right. So it should be middle, middle, middle. No one should be in the middle to start with. Although you could go for middle and argue with it with 5 urinals, you're going for the middle because then you're giving the next 2 gentlemen ample opportunity to be further away from you so that 3 people can piss and not be next to each other, as opposed to if 3 people come and then the next 2 are standing next to each other. A similar supply of science applies when it's the trough urinal, but you have to gauge the position yourself. Now, when you're at the trough urinal, and you think you want to be clever and whiz it up the wall, it's best to make sure no one's coming in behind you first. You know what I mean, lads? Or you look like a right silly fucker. Well, I hope this has been an educational experience for you in urinal politics, and I hope that you heed this advice well and take it with you. A good day.